I've recently been doing a lot of blogging online about different ways to survive and some survival techniques for food, and I wanted to show you step by step how to go through and make your own hydroponic system. So let's get into it. So this hydroponic system is a deep water type of hydroponic system, and we're going to need a couple supplies, but don't worry, these all can be acquired through Amazon or Walmart at a really reasonable rate, generally everything together below $30. So the first thing you're going to need is a container. I use this 17-gallon heavy-duty storage tote. Any container will work, whatever size hydroponic system you're wanting to make. You're just going to want at least 10 inches of height from the bottom up. And the only caution that I have is that when you get into the less expensive containers, there's a lot of flex on the walls. And this type of container specifically that I found, it has little to no flex. And that will be important when we fill it with water and the sides aren't bowing out. So this is the container I went with, but any container that you'd like to use will work. The next thing we're going to want to look at is the pots that we're going to keep the plants in. Okay, so you could buy what's called neti pots for hydroponic systems. They're a little bit more expensive, but what I actually use are these red Solo cups. They're a little bit smaller than a traditional red Solo cup at 9 ounces, but a sleeve of these comes in at about $1.90, and you have 50 cups, so enough for now and in the future for future projects. Next thing we want to look at is an air pump. Every hydroponic system needs oxygen, and that's how we get the oxygen to the plants, is through an air circulation system. This 5 to 15 gallon single outlet air pump ran about $5 at Walmart or Amazon, and I'll put some links in the description for you to be able to pick up your own. The next thing is air tubing. This will allow your air pump to put the air into the water. This is very important because if you don't have air circulating, you'll get a lot of root rot and other issues that we could talk about later in the video. But just know you're going to need about 8 to 10 feet of this. The next thing we want to look at is how we're going to disperse that air in the water. This is called a bubble stone. These come in different sizes and shapes. I find that the longer ones disperse more air evenly, but if you had a smaller one or you have one for a fish tank kicking around already, really any one is fine. I went with this one because it was available for about $5 at Walmart and on Amazon. Again, the link will be below. Something to write with is going to be important because we're going to want to mock up some designs on our lid, and so a permanent marker will help out a lot with that, but anything will do that will make a mark on your plastic lid. You're going to want some kind of lighter, adult supervision for this if you're under 18, don't want anybody getting burnt, but this will allow us to clean up some edges and to make the holes in our red Solo cups so that airflow can be achieved. So another item is going to just be a metal stick of some sort. This is a small screwdriver. It's going to be to make the holes and the slits in the cups so that water can flow through it. Anything metal should work, just something that can be heated up without causing damage to it. And pick this up at Harbor Freight in a kit, I think for $5, but these by themselves run about $1. So moving on, one of the other things that we're going to want to think about in this project is what we're going to end our hydroponic system for plants. Most plants will thrive in a hydroponic system, with a few exceptions. Climbing plants and vining plants are a little bit hard with space. You want to make sure that they have room to lattice up and to expand and spread. We went with a few plants that we commonly use and eat, obviously, so that we're able to get the best use out of our system in time. So we went with Bonnie brand green pepper. This guy's looking great, and even has a little flower starting on here. Has a great root system and looks super healthy. So we grabbed one of those. We also went with the Bonnie brand tomato plant. This is a cherry tomato variety and super healthy stalk, thick stalk, which is important with the hydroponic start because you're going to want that plant to be able to support itself as best as possible right when you transplant it. We also went with another type of pepper. This is a yellow pepper. and we eat a lot of green and yellow and red peppers, so we thought using our space for these would be one of the wisest choices. We also went with some lettuce. The great thing about lettuce is as a hydroponic system produces lettuce and you tear off the top to consume it, it will grow back at an exponential rate. So if you eat a lot of lettuce and a lot of greens, you don't necessarily have to plant multiples of them. This will grow back to a sizable plant in between 3 and 5 days. So keep that in mind when you're picking out your lettuce. This variety is romaine, and we got this guy to go ahead and see what he'd do in the hydroponic system as well. And then lastly, we grabbed this strawberry plant because it looked too good to leave there. And this is going to allow us to have actually 3 plants because it's branching. We're going to pull this apart at a root system and go ahead and put it in multiple cups. And strawberries love hydroponic systems. They're a water heavy plant, and this is going to do rather well in that environment and produce hopefully lots of strawberries for us. The last thing you want to look at is some kind of product that is going to be used in the cups to allow water to fill up around the plants and to also be a pH neutral substance so that it doesn't throw off the pH balance of your water. A lot of times people use clay beads for this, and those are fine if you have a hydroponic store near you or you want to order those off Amazon. The one thing that I do find with those is that they're more expensive. So an alternative to that you can get locally at Walmart or at a Lowe's or Home Depot is Lava Rocks. The bag I bought is this brand here, and it came with more Lava Rocks than I will need, but for future projects this will be great, and it will keep us going for several years, I'm sure, of hydroponic systems. So this is the red variety. They have a black variety as well, and either one is just fine because Lava Rocks are a pH neutral substance. So let's get building. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we want to grab our lid to our container. This is the lid that mine came with. And we're going to want to plan out how many cups and plants that we're going to be able to produce in this system. Now, the structure of this lid is solid on the top, and the reason they do that is for it to be remaining rigid when it is on the bucket. So the more holes that you put into this, the less sturdy the lid will be to retain the square shape of the actual hydroponic garden. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to leave a few inches of room between each neti cup or each solo cup so that it has some structural integrity left. So what we're going to want to do is take one of our solo cups, and we're going to use it as a measurement guide to measure how big we're going to cut the holes for our hydroponic system. So what we want is we want the hole to be the size of the cup as it is right here below the lip. We want the cup to sit down in up until the lip or just a little bit below it. We don't want the hole so big that the cup will slip through and fall into the water completely. So that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to flip the cup upside down, and we're going to set it on the lid, and we're going to move that across, making circles everywhere that we want to put a cup. For this size tote and this size lid, I suspect 3 across will do just fine, and it will leave plenty of structural integrity for us to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that and show you what it looks like when it's done. Now we're going to go ahead and start our second row, and again we just want to leave a little bit of room, so I'm going to do 3 more holes for a total of 6 evenly spaced apart, and that should do pretty well for this tote. So again, let me go ahead and do those and I'll check back in with you. Alright, so now we have 6 rough circles that we have drawn on this so that we know where they go, and what we're going to want to do is when we make our cuts, we're going to want to go just inside of the circle. So meaning we're going to cut just inside this circle. so that we leave that room for the cup not to slip through completely. So let's go ahead and get our cutting utensil. Anything will work that you have, just be careful not to cut yourself, and let's get started on cutting those out. So I have a couple cutting utensils here. I have a smaller knife, just a Perry knife from the kitchen, and then a little bit larger of a knife in case I need to make any larger cuts. But again, anything that you have that will be sharp enough to cut through the plastic will work fine. Box cutter, kitchen knife, anything at all. So let's go ahead and get started. So after you get your first hole cut out, we're going to want to go ahead and take the solo cup and just go ahead and give a slight measurement here. So this one fits in just about, I'd say, an inch from where it would touch the rim. So what we want to do is just look at where it's touching to be able to trim back a little further to make it sit lower. We want all the cups to sit pretty much at the same height, and whether they're an inch up or an inch down won't make the biggest difference. Really the difference is made that they're all a similar height. So let's go ahead and get the edges of this cleaned up a little bit. So I like that positioning there. It's an even amount all the way around, and I think I can get the rest of them pretty similar. So let's go ahead and start on the rest of the holes. Check up with you in just a minute. Another perfect fit there. All right, and here we go. Our 6 holes. Now there are products that you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot that would be a hole saw for this, and you put it on a drill and you could drill these extremely quickly. The problem with those are that they cost more, and the project that we're working on today is a budget project. So to spend another $30 or $40 on a tool would double the cost. So that's why we went the hard way and used a knife. But as you can see, in just a few minutes, you can get it knocked out and be on your way to your hydroponic garden. So we're gonna go ahead and get our 6 red cups. And what we're gonna need are some slits on these that go from just above the bottom to just above the top to allow air and water to flow through them and for the roots to come out into the water system. This whole design is based on the roots being able to reach the water and for the lava rocks to be able to absorb the water and hold it against the roots. So without flow through, we really wouldn't have a product that worked. So this is an important step. This is the step we're going to use the small metal point and a lighter to heat it up. If you chose to just take the knife and make the slits, you can do that, but these cups have a tendency to crack all the way to the bottom, and then they're not as sturdy as they were because they lose their integrity. So let's go ahead and try the heat method and see how we do. So as you can see, as you heat it up and you apply a little bit of pressure to it, it will slip right down through, making a nice slit, and it won't mess with the integrity of the cup itself. So that's what we're after. We're just going to repeat the process to all 6 cups. All right, we're back, and now we have all 6 cups completed. We have the slits in all of them, and then we also have a few holes on the bottom. I did about 5 to 6 holes, just poking that metal straight through to create a small hole, just so water and air could flow through there freely as it needed to. All right, so to prepare the lava rock, the easiest thing to do to clean it is to go ahead and run water through it until it runs clear. And the best way I've found to do that over my years of keeping fish is just to take one of your knives and make some slits in the bottom of the bag. Just make them the width of the knife blade, 6 or 7 or 8 of them. And then what you'll do is you'll open up a corner of the bag like so. and then you'll just add the hose into this hole here. The water will run through and exit through the bottom, and your rocks will be clean and ready to go. All right, now if your rocks didn't come in a nice plastic bag like mine and it came in something else, another way to do it is just to take that bag of rocks and put it in the bigger part of your tote and do the same method. Just allow a hose to run in that, overflowing the tote. The rocks will stay on the bottom and all the debris and the loose dirt will flow out. Once that water is clean, then you're ready to go. All right, so now we're gonna take our cups and we're going to line them up. We're gonna do 3 at a time, I think, here. And we're gonna go ahead and get some of that cleaned rock. And we're gonna start to put a few pieces in our cups here. So as you can see, we just put 2 to 3 pieces in each cup. And now we're ready to get our plants to go in these cups. So to prepare a plant to go into a hydroponic system from dirt, it's not a very complicated task. All you're going to want to do is take the plant out of the cup, like so. And when you have this plant out of the cup, you're going to want to remove any of the tags, and you're going to want to give the soil a gentle wash until what you're left with is mostly roots. You're not going to be able to get 100% of the dirt out, but that's okay. We're not worried about 100% of the dirt. A lot of that will fall down to the bottom of the bucket, and then on your first clean out of the system to add more nutrient, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, you will be able to remove that dirt then. So for now, we want to get a bulk of it off, but we're not overly concerned about 100%. So I'm going to go grab a clean bowl of water, and I'm going to show you my technique. So I've decided to use this pan, and the reason I decided to use this pan was because it's shallow enough that I'm able to let you see what I'm doing, but any size bowl will be fine as long as you have some clean water in it and your plant by your side. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start wanting to dip and then just work that around without any pressure, and as you can see, the dirt just starts to kind of melt away. You can take your fingers and do this motion in the water, just gently relieving the dirt of the roots. We're not trying to break the roots. We're not trying to damage the roots in any way. We're just dipping and allowing that dirt to come as loose as it can. Again, not 100% of the dirt will come out, and we're not looking for that. We're really looking for a bulk or a majority of it too, and that is sufficient. So here we have our root mass without any dirt, and we haven't done any damage at all to the roots. So we're going to put that in one of the cups that has the rocks in it. Just allowing it to set down in there nicely. And then we're going to take some additional rocks, and we're just going to gently place them around the plant to give the plant some ability to lean up against them. Just like that. So now what we have here is this is planted in rocks with the roots. I would say they're about 3/4 of the way down here on the side, and now they'll have space and room to grow out these holes and the bottom holes to reach the air and the water. Alright, so we've filled our tote completely, and, well, I wouldn't say completely, about half full. So our tote's 17 liters, so I would say about 8 to 9 liters would be what we have the tote filled at this point. And we're going to go ahead and add fertilizer. Now at Lowe's they sell this Alaska fish fertilizer, and the reason I grabbed this is because 1, it's a liquid fertilizer, and 2, it's organic. So I'm all about the organic fertilizer if I'm growing at home, because why not buy it when it's the same price? I believe this was $11, and this is enough to do a lot. The mix ratio on the bottle says 2 tablespoons per gallon. It's 8 liters. We're looking at about 4 tablespoons, and a cap is just about a tablespoon, so about 4 caps of this for my purposes, but you'll want to do your own mix ratio, and you also want to check if you buy a different type of fertilizer what it suggests on the back. I do suggest a liquid fertilizer. I've seen people use Miracle-Gro and different things like that, and although they have success, this is the best type of nutrient for a plant to pick up in a water system, meaning a liquid fertilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a shake. Open it, and as you can see, it's quite thick, so we're going to want to shake a little bit more, and we're going to want to add 4 capfuls to this mixture. So the next step would be to utilize the other components that we got for our hydroponic system, which includes the air pump, the air hose, and the air distribution rock, which we will use to get the oxygen all through and also to mix the water so it doesn't sit stagnant. So how this works is you first apply one end of the tube to this port. So every one of these air pumps comes with a one-way valve, meaning that the water can't travel from your bucket and siphon back into the pump and ruin it. And the way to utilize these is to just take your hose at any interval and utilizing your knife, cut the hose, and then take your one-way valve, and on the side that says out, put that to where the air is going to go out. Take the other half of your hose, add it on here. Now if you accidentally get a back siphon, the water will not go through this valve and it will save your pump. So what we're going to do after that is we're going to get our air stone, and we're going to hook our other end up to the air stone, and we're just going to set the air stone in the bottom of the hydroponic bucket, and then we're going to allow that to sit 10 or 15 minutes before we plug this in, just to allow all the water to absorb into the air rock, and it allows for the disbursement of the air and the water much more quickly than if you plug it in immediately. So 15 minutes, and then you can go ahead and plug in the air pump, and you'll be ready to go with your bucket. Now the next thing we want to do is go ahead and throw our plants into our lid. We have our lid with our 6 holes. We can set this directly on top of our reservoir. Your hose can either go right up under the lid and set, as long as it's not pinched so that the air can't go through, or you can drill a hole in the bucket. Either way is totally fine, it's up to you. And then what you're going to want to do is take each of your plants, set them down into their respective holes. And you're almost done. At that point, what you want to do is you want to take a peek under the lid, and you want to see how far the water comes up on the pots. You want the water to come up 1/3 to 2/3 of the way up the cup. I would say for your first month, 2/3 is a great starting point, because your roots might have not gone all the way down to the bottom of your solo cup. The point is that you want some of the roots in the water and a little bit of the roots in the air so that it can get plenty of oxygen and plenty of water. So go ahead and fill your bucket to where they would be 2/3 up the level of the cup. Showing you on a cup, that mark is going to be about right here. And then you'll be ensured that some of the root system is underneath the water. At that point, go ahead and take your hydroponic system and set it up wherever you would like to keep it, in front of a window or underneath a plant light, and you can start growing. Now, your plants did go through quite a shock with taking the dirt off of the root system, and it will take a couple days to see any significant growth. But the good news is that with a hydroponic system, the rate of growth is significantly faster than a dirt system. So you should see those plants catch up in a matter of a week, and you'll be producing food faster than you ever thought you could, and it will be organic, and it will be food you grew at home to be prepared for any situation. I thank you for tuning in, and I will give you an update in about a week of how this hydroponic system is performing. I'd love if this video helped you. Go ahead and like it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe. I will be having more videos up on the blogs and also on this channel so that you can see my future projects and some update videos of how this system is producing over the next few months. I'd love to see pictures of yours. Please send comments on how you're doing or any questions you have. Until next time, I appreciate you. Have a good day.